Picture this. You've got an idea, a book you want to sell, a pickleball paddle, Chris, with your logo on it, or a shirt for the team. You open maybe Canva or another tool. You open a stock photo site. You start hunting for a mock-up generator that runs $40 a month.
Yeah, and then 3 tabs later, you still don't have one image that you put your name on because they're all just kind of crummy. The paddles look like ping pong, or they're like weirdly shaped. Maybe the handle's bent at an odd angle. The shirt looks like a template. We've all been there, I'm sure. So you close your laptop, maybe next weekend.
Yeah, so today we're going to skip all of that. Live, we're going to generate 3 real product or maybe more mock-ups, a book cover, a paddle, a t-shirt, some other items. Then we take one and build the page that actually sells it.
Yeah. So this is the Shift AI show presented by AWeber, the most loved email marketing platform for small businesses. Check us out at aweber.com/start.
All right. I mean, it's funny as we were talking about this, like I remember using those like book cover generators, and you would like feed it an image and it would try to like do the spine and the cover.
And it was rough.
And it was like $30 a pop, Yeah. It's just like, like you knew it didn't look real, but you're like, well, this is what we can do.
Yeah.
Well, that's different now, right?
Yes. Yeah, it is like a completely different thing. I will say that like Jesse and I have been working on like a fun little project to use when we launch the landing page builder that we're making at AWeber, and the ability to take the stuff that we've physically designed ourselves, because we're both designers, and mock it up easily as the object that it's going to eventually be is just like life-changing as a designer. Awesome. It's really wild.
Yeah, it's incredible. Why don't we jump in? I mean,
yeah, of course.
Wait, right? Let's do it.
Okay, so we're going to be going through a couple examples that are actual product types that we know a lot of you sell. And if you have ideas while we're going, please let us know. I mean, it's always fun when you have suggestions that we can respond to live or test out live. Yeah, that's a blast. But the first one is a book cover. So I have a book cover here. There's this book idea I've been working on for a while. And all it is it's a gigantic Google Doc that has all these little things I've learned about business cards and people's stories of their first business card, like the history of business cards. Because eventually one day I want to write a book about business cards because they're like a dying thing now. But when I was first starting out, I remember making myself my first business card for the design agency that I started when I was like 20, and how much it made that business feel real.
Yeah.
It was really incredible. So all that to say, that's the concept behind this book, the very big history of a little piece of paper. So it's about business cards.
I think you should write the book.
Yeah, one day I will, Jesse. And if you want to follow along and try out any of these prompts for yourself, I added at least 3 to the mega prompt doc that we have. So I just shared that in the chat. You can jump in there and try it for yourself. But I will say, I generated these prompts in ChatGPT. So before I started this chat, I asked for a prompt to generate the book cover. And I worked back and forth with ChatGPT because I was like, I want it to look this certain way. And it kept iterating on the prompt for me. And what I ended up with was something that I'm not going to read out, but it touches on some interesting things. It touches on the placement of the object, which is really important. And by changing the placement of the object, you can change the way that it looks and feels. But here it's like a slight angle. It talks about the setting and the style of the setting. It talks about the materials used in the book cover in this case. Substantial matte, hardcover finish, crisp edges, all that stuff that gives the model direction. Because like we've talked about this a lot in the past, is if you give the model a vague prompt, there's way more variety it might come back with. And sometimes that's good.
It's going to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
What it doesn't know.
And that's great when you're brainstorming. But like when you have an idea of like, I want a book mock-up to look this way, to be presented this way, because it is a specific type of book, then you want to give specific direction as much as possible. And you're going to see that in each of the prompts as we go through this. But this is the thing. It talks about the scene that the book is in. And this magic last bit that you're going to see a version of this at the end of every prompt is this sentence here. Do not add any new text, logos, stickers, badges, review quotes, or decorative graphics. Just saying explicitly at the end of the prompt, don't change this. And it's going to be a little different in the other prompts you see, but for the books, it's like, don't add quotes because I don't have quotes on it. Don't add reviews. I don't want you to make stuff up. I don't want a sale sticker on it. Just mock it up the way that it is. Because again, if I don't say that, the model will sometimes take license and just do its thing. You ready? Drum roll for the result? Okay, here is the mock-up. And I think that's pretty awesome for a one-shot prompt. I think that's really incredible. And I was wondering, Jesse's a creative director at AWeber. What do you have a piece of critique that we can kick off an edit of this book? Like, would you change any? I actually think it's pretty good, but would you change anything about it?
Yeah, I mean, honest truth, I probably wouldn't change anything. But for the sake of it, let's say like I want to see a little bit more of the surroundings of the setting, a little bit like less hyper focused on the tabletop or whatever. Maybe even just like bringing a little life into it or a little color.
Okay, great. I'm going to say focus less on the tabletop and show more of the room. Introduce a little more color, but in the same general tone. How about that?
Yep. And I think like it's worth calling out because you said this earlier, like, you know, I went back and forth with ChatGPT describing what I wanted it to look like and then got like a really explicit prompt written by ChatGPT to then use to generate your image. And I've heard this before when we've talked about like, you know, I've talked about I love using Claude to generate like really explicit prompts before I go into the whatever builder or tool I'm using. It's worth pointing out, like, because I've heard the question, why not just do that iteration in the tool that you're using and refining the outputs? Frankly, because going back and forth conversationally with ChatGPT is so much faster.
Yeah.
And then you give a really explicit prompt, the image generation is going to take longer. So iterating on the image over and over as we're watching and seeing, you know, how much longer that takes, it's going to save you so much time to do that, like kind of iteration conversationally and verbally. All right. So it did what you wanted. I mean, I don't know if I would have stood the book up like that, but yeah, now we've got a little more color and tone in the room. I like that.
Yeah, I kind of like that too. That's sort of neat. Like as something that I might put on my website or on social media. Oh, that's a good one. Let's say make me a version of this to share on social media in the correct aspect ratio for, let's say, Facebook.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to give it, I really probably should have given it more direction on like where, but whatever, we'll see what it does. The thing about, I completely agree with what you're saying, and like direct agreement doesn't make for the best the shift episode. But
yes.
But the thing is, the models are still better at text, at writing and communicating in text than in images. And they're getting way better. Like, I don't think I said this explicitly, but we're in ChatGPT using ChatGPT Images 2.0, which is still my favorite image generation model right now. And it is way faster to just go back and forth on the text prompt, tweak it, and then have it generate images. And then a really neat thing that you can do is you could feed the image back to it or respond to it and say like, hey, I don't like this about the image, update the prompt. Because like I always go back to the prompt when I'm working on something, especially when I want it to be repeatable. I'll give feedback and not necessarily just ask it to update the image, but update the prompt. So next time I generate an image or I share it with someone, I get something that is more like what I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
cool.
awesome.
All right. We've got a social image that looks pretty good, man. Given the direction that we gave it, I think that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
It's
That's
kind of
really nice.
small, I think, compared to the business cards. If I were like nitpicking this, the book seems a
Yeah,
little small
perspective's a
compared.
little off,
Yeah,
right?
but
I want to work in that
generally
off.
really good.
I like it.
You want to move on to another one?
Yeah,
This is a
let's do it.
fun one because I learned some weird stuff doing this. So now I mentioned that Jesse and I are working on this concept for promoting our landing page builder, and we're going to jump into the landing page builder to show you how you can generate images right in a page builder using some of the same principles. But we're using this idea called Delco. We're from Delaware County, Pennsylvania. So Delco Surf Shop. We're landlocked, but we're trying to
Yeah,
do
I
this
was going to say, and if you
landlocked.
don't know Delaware County, there is no coastline.
There's no ocean there, but we're just playing with it because we both love the ocean, going down the shore, and we love that vibe.
Yep.
So I want to mock up some of these t-shirt designs on actual t-shirts. And here I'm showing my process of working with ChatGPT to develop the prompts. So I said, write me a prompt to mock up my t-shirt on an off-white t-shirt. The subject should be a surfer. The image should feel warm, authentic, and candid. And it took that and it built it out into this prompt, which is, there's also a genericized version of this prompt in the mega prompt Google Doc that I linked earlier. But it talks about some of the very similar things that it talked about with the book, the materials used, the lighting, the position, like the general tone of the surfer, relaxed, sun-kissed,
35
slightly
millimeter
wind.
film grain. I
Yes.
mean, it's so
Yeah.
specific. I love it.
And that stuff really matters when you're generating images. And you'll see this at the end as well. Do not add any extra text, logos, jewelry, graphics, or branding. If you don't say that, you're going to get modifications to your image. So like, it's really important that you add that. So I used that with this image, and note that in the prompt, there's nothing about positioning yet. So, and that was a miss on my part, but it actually turned out pretty well because this was the image it generated. I think that's pretty good. I didn't give it direction. It placed it as a full chest print, and it looks great, in my opinion.
Yep.
The person looks great. The pose looks really good. The design looks natural and like it's actually on the shirt.
Yeah.
So, but then I wanted to do a different shirt on the back. And this is where I went back to editing the prompt instead of just iterating in the chat. I asked it to write a version of the prompt that includes a placeholder for positioning, and it added that section right here. Easy enough. It's a good way to work. So now I took this design that says landlocked but still shredding, Delco Surf Shop, and I tried it with the prompt, and I filled in the position as a full back print. And now watch what it generated. This. That's not what I was expecting. Because, so, but like, here is where I learned something. I think I've had this experience with ChatGPT images in the past when trying to do mockups, but it really hit me here. And I was trying to figure out like what is going on. So I just tried to do it again. I was like, hey, this missed all the black text from the image, because you see that it missed the black text and the black outline on this Delco Surf Shop in the corner. So I was like, you missed all of the black from this. And what it did is it just added a bunch of black text.
It just inferred like, okay, we'll add some black text.
It made it up. And that's actually kind of cool, but that isn't the design. So my next question was to ask, like, why are you doing this? And what it told me is basically, it thinks that what's happening is when it looks at this image as a preview, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to click on it. Since it has a transparent background, it's really hard to see the black content on the black preview. And it thinks that it's looking at this, basically. So it's seeing this and saying like, oh, there's only pink and blue here. It doesn't know any better. So it suggested for me to flatten this image so it has a white background. So I tried to do that in ChatGPT. I was like, add a white background to this image. But the problem is, it still can't see, the black content. So it created this, which is not what I wanted. So I used an outside tool, and Jesse had a good idea. He had suggested that I ask it to convert this to a JPEG, and I didn't do that because I was running low on time. but I used an outside tool to convert it to a JPEG with a white background and ran the prompt again. So now it has the white background. And what I got back is like exactly what I wanted. Like, I want that shirt. I want to wear that shirt out on the beach.
Oh, I mean, this is going to production, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. We're going to print it. But
one of these next episodes, one of us will be wearing that shirt.
yes, for sure. But this was a really cool learning experience. And that's why you watch The Shift, is so you can learn stuff like that. That was
so we can make mistakes and struggle and then share them with you.
Yes. Yeah. But it was neat. It was neat to bump into that and then figure out why it was happening. So now in the future, I know if I want to mock up like a dark design like this on a light colored shirt, I need to include, like, have it sitting on the solid color background.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really interesting. And what it actually suggested I do is include both the transparent PNG and the JPEG, so it can compare them both, I guess, in case I wanted to put it on a shirt that was a color other than white. But this is an area where I'll keep experimenting. But if you find yourself running into this issue, now you know why and how to fix it.
I just want to point out a cool behavioral thing too, because like I am inherently a problem solver. I love trying to like reverse engineer problems and things, like figure out what's going on. But my first instinct would have been to go off and try to figure out what's happening with this image and why that's happening. It's really good behavior in like an AI interaction or like the world. You asked it why it was happening. Like, you had it investigate what was going on with it, and it gave you some input about why that might be happening. It's just like, I'm sure you're not the only one. I think I've run into this problem and just not realized what was happening before. And we're probably not alone. But with any of those problems, it's just like, you can ask it why it's happening, and it may actually point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's the best way to deal with it, because it's going to look at like what it did to get to the end result in a way that is hard for us to do ourselves, you know, because even if you look at the reasoning trace, it's hard to sometimes understand what happened, but it can go back and look, and it's gotten so much better at this. Because in the past, like 6 months ago, a year ago, you might ask it what it did to get to the end result, and it would lie to you. It would hallucinate. But it's gotten way better at that. So now it doesn't hallucinate as much, at least. At least these frontier models like ChatGPT's or OpenAI's latest models and Claude's latest models. All right, cool. So next demo is very similar. This is also in the Mega Prompt Pack. And this is asking it to create a bunch of stickers. So again, I asked it to write this prompt for me. I'm going to keep calling this part out. Do not add any new text, logos, packaging, labels, hands, decorative graphics, or unrelated objects. Do not duplicate any of the supplied designs. This is really important. And then I added this image that has a bunch of like sticker designs and asked it to create them using that prompt. What I got was great. They look like stickers. Looks great. They're in reality, and it took me that long. But I wanted something a little bit more organic. So I asked to follow up here, make another image of the stickers as a sticker pack, slightly overlapping each other, that I can use on social media promoting a sticker giveaway. And I told it like what I wanted to use it for. And then I copy pasted the do not include any modifications. And it gave me something that feels a little bit more organic. Now, one interesting thing is it did change this design. Like surf is centered here and it's offset here. I actually kind of like it better this way, which is funny.
I hate the offset, but poor instruction following.
But it's a good reminder, like double check the AI's work. I'm going to breeze through to the next one just because I want to get to the builder as well. And this one's like, this is a more specialized case. So I didn't include this prompt, but if you have a product that is like a little bit more unique, in my case, it's pickleball paddles, you can follow the same process where I was like, write me a prompt for featuring my pickleball paddles in the hands of models playing. They should be stylish and wearing attire that complements the paddle design, makes sure the paddles are not modified. Creates this prompt for me and includes a lot of the content that the previous ones did about setting, about model positioning, about film style. And this section at the end.
Yeah.
And I used that with just 2 flat images of 2 of my paddles, this one and that one. What I got back is, I will say it's fine, although I wouldn't use it because like this is not how people hold pickleball paddles, or I mean this one, the back one is
if
okay.
they want to actually return the ball.
Yes, yeah. And you know what the most annoying thing to me about is like, as somebody who loves pickleball, this ball is a giveaway that you're a beginner.
Yeah.
So like I would swap that bright yellow ball out.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have this.
But here I did just iterate on this, and I was like, you know what, make me another variation, this time with the players hanging out after a game holding the paddles. I was hoping it would make it feel more natural. Again, don't add anything, don't change anything. And this one, like this is a great image. I think I would use this image. Like this hand position is a little strange, but it shows off the paddles in the hands of real people. If I were to use it alongside my other images in my e-commerce store or on social media, I think that would work fine. And I could keep iterating if I wanted to.
We talked about this in like episode 2 or 3. Always check the work, right? What's going on with why is the guy on the right's only holding a handle?
Oh gosh. Okay.
Where's the paddle?
Let's mark this up.
You could crop it though. You could revise it, right?
You know what though? We're gonna change this. Can I not mark it
like an 80s Miller Lite ad? While you're doing that too, Market asked, and I think it was answered in the process of the demo, but why do they just see the black background? And Mark answered his own question. But if that PNG has a transparent background, the way that it views it, it essentially darkens the background. And so it's almost black on black and vertical to it.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm gonna flatten JPEG with a white background, it wouldn't be transparent. It would see the black on white background.
You know what I'm curious about though is how it would add that to a different colored shirt. So I'm going to kick off two prompts just to see what happens. In this one, I'm going to say these people are not holding the paddles like actual pickleball players. Make them seem more natural. Do not edit the paddles or designs. Also, the guy on the right is just holding a handle. That's not right.
Dave said he broke the paddle, but he looks pretty happy for someone who snapped the paddle in half. I don't know.
Well, sometimes after you take a tough loss and you might be seething internally, you come off and you've got to put on a happy face.
Yeah, 13-year-old Jesse that had his tennis racket taken away because it was misshapen after being frustrated losing to my father.
Here, I'm going to try this now. Now mock this up on the back of a, let's say, light blue or light yellow shirt. No, let's do light blue. And I'm going to include the JPEG with the white background just to see like if there's any sort of weirdness. Okay, I'm going to kick these two off. So we got that. And I'm going to jump into the builder inside of AWeber because when you're working with page builders, it's awesome if you don't have to jump back and forth between different tools. And one of the things I love about AWeber's builder, and I use all the time, and Jesse, do you have a link to the feature flagged version of that handy? If not, I can grab it.
No, I'll grab it. I'll drop it in.
Yeah, because I want you all to play with this. Like, if you have an AWeber account, you can use it for free in your account for the time being. Go in and actually build pages. It's remarkably good and easy. I've built a ton of them. We've built a ton on stream. And if you don't have an AWeber account, you can create one for free and use this for free, including image generation and everything, to create all sorts of really wild, impressive things. So I'm here and I had to create a skeleton of a page where I might promote multiple things. And I'm going to show you just like using the same exact prompt in the builder. I'm going to have it build me images. So I'm going to say, replace the book placeholder images with images you create using the attached mockup and prompt direction. Okay, and then I'm just going to copy in the prompt that I used initially. So that's the prompt that I'd used in ChatGPT. And I'm also going to copy in the book cover. I can just drag it and drop it right here. Now it has my book cover as context. I'm going to kick it off. So that's going to take a bit, because now what it's going to do, well, we'll watch it think really quick just to show you the capabilities. So what it's looking at here is it's realized that it needs to create a photorealistic product photo from your book cover, then place it in both book spots. And I'm interested to see if it just creates one, because there's a book placeholder here and a book placeholder here, or if it's going to create two.
But I think what's so cool here is like you're getting that same functionality in some ways better within the builder. So you're not now even this, it sounds silly, but even the process of then like, you know, going to GPT, rendering your images, downloading them, bringing them over, uploading it, prompting it, saying place this image. Yeah. Like it's just so much more simplified.
Yeah. And I'm going to show you something in the next one that is really, well, if we have time, is really cool, because a great thing about creating it right inside the builder is you can have it reference the styles of the page that it's being added to. So you can ask it to make it fit the setting, match the color and style of the page. And that's a really big deal when you're trying to create something that feels cohesive and not just like stock photography slapped onto your page. So this is cool. We just added this plan mode pretty recently, and it shows that it generated the photo, and now it has to place it in two places. Oh, it's trying to edit. Okay, it ran into an issue. It's doing its thing. We'll come back in just a second, but let's check in on how this worked. So this was me asking it to add this image with the white background to a light blue shirt. Let's see what it does. Oh, it did a great job.
Yeah.
So it's
fine, to get rid of the fine working in that direction, essentially removing the white background to use the image.
Yeah.
Just struggling when there's already transparency. So in other words, there's no need to have transparency in the image that you give it, because it can handle taking it out.
That was awesome.
That's really good.
I'm pretty impressed with that.
So I guess cool. the takeaway is if you're using like graphics and logos, you're probably better off using a flat JPEG with a white background,
which is 100% not what I was doing. Like this experiment changed the way I'm approaching this, which is awesome.
Well, and we're both coming at it as designers. Like, how much more versatile was a transparent PNG as a designer in applying it to different things?
Yeah, because if I was going to physically mock it up on something,
that white background, right? Yeah,
yeah, that's so cool.
It works totally. Yeah, interesting. Hey, we both just learned something.
Yeah. Okay, so that was actually pretty quick. It mocked up my book and it put it here, and it used the same image here, which is fine. You know, I didn't give it direction not to. So now I'm going to do a t-shirt mock-up, and I'm going to say, okay, great. Now mock up a t-shirt using the design attached. Do it as a, well, let me pick the image for the t-shirt I want to do next. We'll do, this one, this rat image. There you can see it a little bit. Let's say the shirt should be cream, and the setting should reflect the color and style of this web page so it fits naturally. Now I'm taking a risk because this is not a very good prompt, but for the sake of our experiment, let's see it. All right, and while we're waiting for this, let's see how this turned out. These people are not holding the paddles like actual pickleball players, make them seem more natural. Do not edit the paddle design, whatever. The other guy is just holding a handle. Oh man, that made this so much worse. Oh, that's horrible. So now this is floating out of her hand. This is also just kind of like, I guess casual or natural or whatever. They're like, and then this guy, like none of these are holding these paddles in a way that is physically possible. So that's a problem. I would say this experiment is a failure, but maybe I just use one of these other images.
You could use that first one, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say this image is pretty good, but change the ball to a Franklin X40. We'll do that.
I just learned what kind of pickleball balls I need to order.
Actually, the new one is a lifetime pickleball. Those ones are really good, but they're expensive and they're really fast. Like it feels like you're playing ping pong.
Oh, fun.
Okay, let's see. So it made the t-shirt mock-up. Oh, I had meant to ask it to create two, one for the hero and one for the page, but this will be the last demo because we're at 12:30. But so much that you should be able to do coming out of this. If you weren't already creating mock-ups like this, you now know how to create ebook covers, t-shirt mock-ups, sticker mock-ups, and also to create prompts to get whatever it is that you need mocked up. Oh man, that looks pretty great.
And I just think like I would love to hear, you know, whether it's next episode or whatever, how people are implementing this, because you did these great, you prompted these great mock-ups of like realistic looking products, right? But you could also be giving it like, you could be giving it, Chris, I know you have that picture that we used in a past demo where you're sitting in the swinging chair in the living room or wherever. I think you put shoes on yourself once.
Yeah.
AI, yeah. Right? But you could be like, use this image and this book cover and have me holding it in a chair. You know what I mean? Like you can incorporate yourself in this stuff. It's just so limitless in terms of how you can create these like highly polished, high fidelity product images without like a full-blown photo shoot.
Yeah. It's incredible.
And to be able to do that inside the page builder, to me, is just it sets it apart.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about just like one thing before moving on to the mailbag. And that is I love generating mockups like this, but in my ideal world where like I would, let's say we're producing these shirts and they're going gangbusters, I think I would still have actual pictures taken with actual models. You know, that's what this experience really shows me. It's like, this is awesome for getting started, but if it turned into something real and that was successful. So this is great for like the product launch portion where like there's a lot of risk involved and every dollar that you spend could be completely lost if the product fails, if you don't find product market fit. But like once I found product market fit with this, there's a lot I would love to be able to do with an actual shoot with actual people. So I think like that's just the way that my design thinking is evolving with these tools, is even as they get better and I love using them, I still think that there's like, whether it's for mockups or web design or whatever it is, they're great for getting you to pass the blockers to launch. But then once you're there, I think that's when human taste really comes in. Once you found something that is a good fit, where you can focus on refinement and like a higher premium level of execution. That is not to shade these AI tools because they're magical, but I think that it really points to the fact that we still live in a world where human creativity is just at a different level, at least for high level creative thinking, than these models can get to yet.
Well, and like, listen, we've talked about it from the start of this show, where it's like finding ways of incorporating AI to do one of two things: take things off your plate that you maybe don't want to spend time doing, or are just taking too much time, manual time, and unlocking things that you otherwise wouldn't have access to. So like whether it's because you're starting up, like Chris is saying, or because it's just not something that you have access or resources for, you can now have high fidelity, you know, virtually photo shoot quality images of your products or, you know, whatever, without having to invest in that. I agree with you. I still think, you know, if I'm in a position to be able to, and I'm exposing some of my like creative director and design background, of course I want to do like a real photo shoot. But a lot of our audience, a lot of my side projects that I work on, I don't have access, time, or resources to do that necessarily. In the past, that meant I don't have great images of my products.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to mean that anymore because of this.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we have a mailbag question this week. We actually had a lot, and I promise you, if you submitted one, we're going to continue to try to run through them on upcoming episodes. We're trying to take one at a time so we don't get too deep in the weeds. But this one came from Erica, who's been a consistent viewer from Advisor Expression. She said, I'm currently trying to do a lot of lead generation campaigns for my clients with some high value content. We're going to do things like 20-minute courses on specific topics. We want the video content to be gated, so they have to register before accessing it. I'm thinking of having a landing page on AWeber where they can fill out the form, and then it redirects them either to Vimeo to watch the video, or have a secondary landing page on AWeber that they're sent to with the video embedded there. Would that work to embed a video on an AWeber landing page?
Yes. Yeah. You would need to host the video somewhere like Vimeo, or like my preference is I'll upload it as an unlisted video on YouTube, and then I'll just have it embedded on a landing page. And I do think it's probably better for you to embed it on a landing page than just send them directly to Vimeo or YouTube, because you can put supporting information and control like the experience for the person. So if you're trying to then upsell them on something else, it's a great place to present the next step additional value on the landing page.
Yeah, Vimeo, you're sending them off of your properties. It's a dead end. It's a one-way street, you know? Yeah. And you demoed it in the web app episode, where you can essentially create like what feels like a login or sign up. And then gated behind that is another page of content where that video would live. I mean, I think it's a beautiful use of it. And for that matter, Erica, if you do put that together, we'd love to see that. So please share that.
Yeah. Share the pages that you're building with us, please. We had Matt Hugg, who was on last week, and he already jumped into the page builder and built 11 amazing lead magnets. They're incredible tools.
I hope we can dig into that topic at some point, what Matt's been doing with it, because it's not just that he did 11. Like, he's using it in ways where at least for me, I'm going, whoa, I hadn't thought of that. You know,
the killer feature he did. So I'm giving away a little bit of a secret sauce, but like, you should 100%. We're going to try and get him on the stream, and you should 100% tune in for that, because he's doing some really smart stuff. His business is equipping and helping nonprofits do things like fundraise and grant write and learn how to do these things. So he built a bunch of tools behind an email gate that people can use for things like setting their fundraising targets or a bunch of other things. But the really cool thing is he added a button to each one to make them printable. And when you clicked on it, it opens like a print optimized version of the calculator with your values already in it. It was so smart, so clever, and not something that I had thought to do before. But he made this useful app because he knows his audience and how they work better than I do. You know?
That's what I was going to say. Like, it props to Matt, because he went, and how is my audience going to use this? Well, they're going to want to print it out. So let's make that as simple as possible for them and usable, and not like stop just short of being truly valuable to his audience.
So smart.
Just incredible stuff. And yeah, Matt, if you're watching, expect to hear from Chris. We'd love to have you on and talk a bit about what you've been building. But please,
Erica, when you do your thing and it starts working for you, come on and talk about it. Like, we really want people on talking about the cool things that you've experienced, that you've built and learned, you know?
And maybe the learnings, the hangups, the things that you had to work through, the problems you had to solve to get it where you needed it. Like, we want to learn from all of that. So please continue to share. One last question Dave had in the chat here was, if I create a page in the new AI builder, can it dynamically pull in from my newsletter archive with RSS?
Yes, I believe so. I think I have that on one of my pages. I'll double check, but if it can't, it should be able to. So I'll test it afterwards, and if it can't, we'll make sure that it can in the future.
I was gonna say, if it can't, it will. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here, Chris. Awesome demos. I love I love how you brought it together was in the page builder, being able to do that same kind of stuff and use those explicit prompts to produce really quality images, like you said. And it's funny because Evan talked about this on the interview last week on Friday. It was like, everybody has to decide for themselves where that line is of where they do and don't want to use AI, or what they're okay, representing, product, services, whatever, reality versus what they're not. And that line's different for everybody. His was don't trick people. Now, I don't think, like a book mock-up would qualify as tricking, but you may not want to use yourself in this stuff because you feel like that's inauthentic or something. Everybody kind of has to figure that out for themselves. If you didn't watch Evan's episode, please go back and watch it. He's incredible. Tons of really cool value and insight there. As always, continue to send those mailbag questions, aweber.com/shift. And you can also sign up for the newsletter on that page. If you did submit mailbag questions, I promise you we're going to continue to get to them and hopefully give useful answers. We will be back Friday at noon Eastern time.
Always.
Chris, why don't you send us out?
We will be back noon Eastern time. That wraps it up well.
All right. I probably just threw that on you. Thanks, y'all, so much for being here. We'll see you next episode.
To pay an invoice,
No.
please press 4 now.
Talk to a person.
Help closing your account.
Running a business is hard.
Okay.
But with AWeber, your email marketing doesn't have to be. AWeber